listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you for letting us share some of that with you. If you're new here and you're just checking us out, pull up a chair and have a seat. You might just learn something. Maybe. Also, if you're new here, check out GiveGod90.com if you haven't. It's a good perusal. See what's there. And again, you might just learn something.
Might.
I am being carefully supervised tonight.
Hello, everyone. Glad you could be with us tonight.
We're experiencing summer. Today, I think, was the hottest day of the year so far. It's summertime. It happens this time every year in the Northern Hemisphere. Wait 6 months. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it'll be your turn. Right? It's just the way it works. I know a lot of times people, the first day of summer, it's longest, most sunshine of the year. It's got to be hot. No. At the latitudes we're in, late July and August, that seems to be the hot time. So that's where we are. Just a lot going on too. So all kinds of fun stuff. If you are looking for a good subject for your Bible study, I will suggest Inheriting Lies. There is one that I know will begin Saturday. Saturday's the 29th, right? Yeah, okay. And I'm interested to see. I know I'm going to get some feedback from that one. It'll be interesting to see what I hear. So, also, don't forget there's God's Universe, God's Rules, and Traditions of Truth, if you're interested. Also, on the website, on GiveGod90.com, there's all kinds of videos there you can take a gander at. When I will be honest, I wasn't real sure what I was going to say tonight until 4 o'clock this morning.
Yes, he was up at 4 o'clock this morning.
At 4 o'clock this morning, I knew exactly what to say. I don't know why, but that is when it came to me. I came down to the office and started putting my notes together and thought, I hope this works. Most people have heard about false prophets or false messiahs, but they don't realize that we need to beware of false believers as well. And I want to begin by telling you about two very different people that we've known in our past. One gentleman grew up in a home where, the family went to church occasionally, not every Sunday, certainly not every Sunday. He had to work very, very hard in school just to even get a passing grade. He applied himself, but it took work. He didn't go to college. Instead, he went into the military where he served for a few years. After he left the military, he began a small business. He rented a storefront where he supplied customers with the things that they needed or wanted, and his prices were very, very fair. He believed that if you gave the people a good product at a reasonable price, they would support the store, and people did. He added some very, very simple basic services that he was able to do, and for a few years, he built that business and it grew. And after a few years, he wanted to be able to continue to improve the way he served his customers, and he searched for a way to keep the costs down while being able to supply the quality of merchandise that the people who shopped at his store began to expect. So he started asking his customers, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then he came up with this, at that time, new concept called an online store. It was something we're all familiar with now, right? But back then, that was a new concept. That was something scary to get into. He realized he'd be able to provide the services the people were familiar with. And most importantly, he would be able to provide his customers with, the same quality of merchandise, the same type of thing that they've been used to, but he wouldn't have to raise his prices every time his lease went up on the storefront. And most of the customers said, yeah, if we can have the same thing we're getting now, we'll support that. And they did. And not only did most of the clientele remain, he added a lot of new customers over the years. And after more than 30 years in business, he was able to retire reasonably comfortably. He offered the people what they wanted. His concern was to benefit them, and in turn, they were able to benefit him and his family. He enjoyed a reasonably healthy life. He was productive, and he was successful. He went to church occasionally, not all the time. But he didn't make, being a Christian part of his business. He simply adapted the biblical principle of treating others the way he wanted to be treated. That was just part of his lifestyle. It's part of who he was, or who he is, I should say. Now, there was another fellow that we know. He had all the things he wanted. He really didn't need to work very hard in school to get good grades. His family was very, very staunch Christians, made sure that he was in church at least twice a week and attended Sunday school regularly. He went to college and worked for some very large corporations until he kind of got dismayed with what he was seeing in the corporate world. And he left and began a small business. Now, he wanted to offer people a chance to enjoy some recreational activities. And that's what his business revolved around, things people to do for recreation. The thing is, he wanted the people to enjoy the same kind of recreation he enjoyed. And he couldn't understand why some people were not as enthusiastic about the things he enjoyed. You see, he was way too proud to serve his customers with what they wanted. Instead, he offered them the things he wanted them to have. His business struggled. And he advertised that his was a Christian business. And he made a pretty big show of being a believer. He made sure his family was in church each week and dressed a certain way. The problem was that he wasn't trying to benefit the people that he served. He was trying to benefit himself. Not only did his business struggle, and it was plagued by hardship, his family was also plagued by hardship. They didn't enjoy good health. They weren't productive, and he was certainly not successful. His business did collapse with part of his family. Now, which of these two men do you think people will actually remember more fondly? The one who served and benefited his customers, or the one who wanted his customers to benefit him? Now, please understand, it isn't what we say that displays our faith. It's what we do. It's not what we say that people remember. It is the things we do. And unfortunately, there are people in the world who are willing to take advantage of, and they actually target believers. And we need to be wary of these people. And I'm not saying it's wrong to want to serve the believing community. I'm saying that in order to do so, there really isn't a need to advertise that. In the United States, there are small businesses that they advertise, and sometimes you'll see a cross, sometimes you'll see a little fish in the ad. And this is, it's there on purpose. It's there to give the person looking at that advertisement the idea that this is a Christian business. Now, some believers actually search out these businesses to support because, well, they honestly think they're supporting some people with Christian principles and Christian values. And some people think that if someone has one of these little symbols in their advertising, they're going to be treated more fairly because a good Christian, in air quotes, is supposed to be honest with others. A good Christian should treat others the way they wanted to be treated, right? But that's not always what happens. Now, we've worked for someone who advertised a Christian business, and I can say from experience, it was not. Like the one man we knew, he wanted his customers to benefit him without the need to really benefit them. And unfortunately, we know far too many people just like that. Now, you might be wondering if the Bible tells us that people such as these would be willing to take advantage of believers. Well, here we go. If you want to read those passages.
Isaiah 29:13. Therefore the Lord said, These people draw near to me with their mouths and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is but rules taught by men. Ezekiel 33:30-31. But as for you, human beings, your people talk against you. They talk by the walls and in the doorways of houses. They say to each other, Come now, hear the message from the Lord. So they come to you as if they are still my people. They sit before you. They hear your words, but they will not do them. With their mouths they tell me that they love me, but with their hearts they desire their selfish profits. Jeremiah 12:2. You have put the evil people here. They are like plants with strong roots. They grow and produce fruit. With their mouths they speak well of you, but their hearts are really far away from you. 2 Corinthians 11:13-15. Such men are not true apostles. They are workers who lie. They change themselves to look like apostles of Christ. This does not surprise us. Even Satan changes himself to look like an angel of light. So it is not a surprise. It does not surprise us if Satan's servants also make themselves look like servants who work for what is right. But in the end, they will be punished for the things that they do.
The answer is yes. The Bible does tell us to watch out for the people who claim to be believers but are too prideful and arrogant and only serve themselves. It's right there for us to read if we will read it. I knew a preacher many, many, many years ago who he was always invited to speak in various churches in the area I grew up in. And when he did, the church always gathered up a love offering. I should say they collected a love offering because that's really what they were doing. And they typically paid him in cash. Now, when I was little, I heard the adults talk, and everybody always wondered if that cash was ever declared on his taxes. I was young. I didn't know what it meant at the time. But after I was a little older, I understood why everybody asked that question. That particular preacher was he was a guest speaker, and he always dressed nice. He always said the right thing. He always drove a new car. And he had 2 houses, one for the winter, one for the summer. Is it any wonder why people were questioning what he was doing with all his money? Now, he happened to be a customer of my family when I was little, and we used to sell fresh eggs, and we'd sell sweet corn or other vegetables. And I can remember him coming to the house almost every week to get eggs or corn, sometimes tomatoes when we had them. And I also remember that when he was supposed to speak at the church that we went to, we always had something else to do that week. Always had someplace else to go. Isn't that amazing? I guess maybe I was taught at a very young age to watch the things that people do and not trust what they say. Think about the people you remember from your past. What do you remember the most? Do you remember the conversations you may have had with them? Or do you remember the things that they did? Chances are you remember their actions more vividly than anything they may have said. Our Creator also remembers the things we've done, no matter what we say. And I don't always go to this particular book, but if you want to read that passage from Revelation.
Then I saw a great white throne, and the one who was sitting on it. Earth and sky ran away from him and disappeared. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. And the book of life was opened, and there was also other books opened. The dead were judged by what they had done, which was written in the books. The sea gave up the dead who were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them. Each person was judged by what he had done. Revelations 20:11-13.
Each person was judged by what they had done, their action, not their words. Solomon writes in Ecclesiastes 12:14, "For God will bring every deed," what we do, "into judgment, along with every hidden thing, whether good or evil." Now, I know most Christian denominations are teaching that, if you just say the sinner's prayer and accept Jesus in your heart, you'll go to heaven. Well, confession is in the Bible. Repentance is necessary for forgiveness, but, and that's a big but, okay? The bottom line is this. Revelation 20:13 that Myra just read, Job 19:29, then you should fear the sword yourselves, because wrath brings punishment by the sword, so that you may know there is a judgment. See, there's another reason I don't need to go to Revelation to teach Revelation. It's all back there if you know where to look, if you know what you're looking for. It isn't what you say that's going to be judged. It's what you do that you will be judged by. And each and every one of us will stand in judgment. It's how you live your life. You have a choice. You have a choice to live the way the Creator designed you to live or not. It's completely up to you. And that means that your eternity is completely up to you. The way people remember you is completely up to you. And here's one that ought to scare you. The way our Creator sees you is completely up to you. We can't change the way false believers advertise or do business. We can only choose to change ourselves. It's that simple. We can only choose to change ourselves. Can't change anybody else. No matter how much you want to. What was the movie? No matter how much they beg, no matter how much they plead, never feed them after midnight. Gremlins. Never feed them after midnight. You can't feed them after midnight. Okay? No matter how much you want to change somebody else, the choice is theirs. You're the only one that can change you. And if you choose to change yourself, see what happens. Be vigilant. And I'm pretty sure you're going to view the world and the people around you very differently when you do. It's that simple. If you want to change the world, it begins with you. Now, go live the way you're designed to live. You really want to see a change in the world? There's the first change you need to make. And it starts when you want it to. So, until Monday.
Until Monday.
If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, stay cool, everybody. Yes. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, stay warm, everybody. If you're in the tropics, you know what to do because you live there all the time.
Right.
Right? And until Monday morning, many, many blessings, everyone.